Hello and welcome to yet another session of the speaking module as part of this course in English. We began talking about language in groups. In this session today, we continue doing so, but from another perspective. Another very formal situation not all of us, but many of us come across where we have to invite speakers, we have to introduce speakers, or sometimes as speakers we have to invite questions, okay, at the end of or during the course of our own talks. How do we do that? What are the kinds of things we remember, we ought to remember, we should remember, and we should be sensitive to? After all, within those same 2 or 3 or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, some speakers strike a chord of bond, a chord of sympathy, a chord of understanding among their listeners, among their audience, and some others, no matter how learned these speakers may be, they leave their audience bored, disinterested, or uninterested, hostile, and all that. What's the difference? How does it go? How does it happen? And if you ask yourselves these questions, you will notice that these things have a little to do with learning, have a little to do with knowledge. After all, without knowledge, without learning, you can say nothing. But there are other aspects to it which are perhaps as important as learning, as knowledge. And these aspects are the aspects of attitude. Are you humble? Or are you very proud, very arrogant? Are you the one who treat yourself with a healthy amount of contempt? Or are you the one who has fallen in love with yourself? There always are some people who think they are the best. Maybe they are, but how do we know others are not as good? Okay, how do we know we do not have something to learn also from others? Now, does that mean we should never be self-confident? Does that mean we should never be proud of our achievements? We can be. There is no harm doing that, with some amount of humility, with some degree of politeness. We can always say what we have learned, what we have tried to learn, what we have tried to achieve. But equally important is also to remember what were those occasions when we did not do so well, when we did not succeed as much and as easily as perhaps the people believe. A good view of oneself is a critical view where we are aware not only of everything good, we are aware not only of everything bad, but of both, all our achievements as well as all our failures, all the pluses that God has given us and all the minuses He also allowed to get into us. If we are aware of both of these things, then we will get along very well in any situation, in any crowd, because we will find more people like us. Okay? So in the session today, we are going to talk about how to introduce speakers, yourself or others, how to invite others to speak, and when you invite, before you invite, you tell the audience who they are. These may be members of your own groups. Imagine you have 5 friends. One of them never writes English correctly, and there is another friend who always writes English very correctly. But it so happens that the friend who doesn't write English correctly is a great group maker. That person has the capacity to take a lot of people along, and on the other hand, the person who writes very good English is not as gifted in the other department, but he is great at writing. You give him 10 minutes and ask him to produce a manifesto of a political party, or produce material for a brochure, single-handed he does it. Okay? So, when we introduce these friends in a group, imagine we meet someone important. Imagine you lead a delegation of other students, other teachers, other workers, and go to meet some celebrity, some VIP, and you tell them who you are, and you also introduce your friends. Then you say, this is X, it still makes mistakes in grammar, but it's wonderful, in bonding people. And on the other hand, I have here this other friend who corrects everyone's grammar, but who always have to be reminded that, come on, it's time for the bus, otherwise you will miss the bus. So with a little bit of humor, with a little bit of wit, with a little bit of humility, you bring in and you bring up the pluses and the minuses of all, of everyone in your group, and you introduce them. Or when you invite a distinguished guest, how do you introduce them? One very simple thing is to take their own bio note, their own curriculum vitae, and read it aloud. There could be no more boring way of doing this thing. Have their curriculum vitae, read it, get it, do some work on it, and find some of those things that are unique to this speaker. Curriculum vitae would tell you when he passed matriculation, when he passed school, college, MA, PhD, when he got which prize. The audience know about this speaker. Okay? That is why they have come to listen to him. Otherwise they won't. Okay? But there still are things, Take a popular film star, you introduce him and you say, oh, he acted in this film, this film made so much money, that film made so much. This is public knowledge. But do people know how many sleepless nights he had remembering his words, his dialogues, and still behaving, going natural, acting if he was supposed to, like an old man, like a beggar, like a mentally retarded, a derelict, a woman, a man, and remembering all the words and delivering them. How he did that? Did he make notes? Was he given prompt? How do? So each person is gifted in some unique way. While introducing them, of course, have some of those facts which are there in public domain. This person is called X, Y, and Z. He works here and there, but, or she works here and there. But there is something that makes this speaker very different from anyone else in the world. What is that? If I had to introduce a celebrity, I would do that. I will not only focus on that particular aspect. Oh, this person has been the governor of this state, and before here he came to this state, he was chief secretary, he was MP, he was MLA, whatever you say. But I would also say, once traveling from Delhi to Bombay, he came across a group of young ladies who were traveling in an emergency, and they did not have a berth. They had no place to sit down. The conductor had allowed them on the train. So those ladies requested this speaker, this person, and this person said, fine, wonderful, you can sit upon this berth and I will lie down. And he took his newspapers, spread them on the floor, and he slept well until he reached Bombay. You know, a great person is great only when he creates opportunities for others. This is a fact, just imagine, which is not there in the public domain, and this will make for a wonderful introduction of that speaker. Everyone will remember, and you are not exaggerating either, you are not telling something which is false. I have also heard introductions where people say, oh, this speaker, Mr. Gandhi, is greater than God. Are you making a fool of Gandhi? Are you making fun of him? Okay. That's not the best way. The best way is to say, Gandhi was also an engineer. Look at the way he designed the charkha. It took him 2.5 years to do that. And not only in the public space, when Gandhi was in Tolstoy ashram, Tolstoy farm in South Africa, he did not have a shower and he was used to taking a shower now and then. So he bought a garden bucket, with a rope. He pulled it up, hung it to the ceiling, and whenever he and his sons wanted a shower, he would go and pull the rope, and that bucket would, spray showers of water upon Gandhi and his sons. This is a fact about the life of Mahatma Gandhi, which is also well known, but not so well known. So best introductions come when we find out, when we spend a little time finding out about the subject we are going to introduce or the person we are about to introduce, we do a good job. This may be true of any. Similarly, when you invite questions, a little bit of humor, a little bit of remembering, a little bit of wit, and but more than anything else, remembering and finding out can help you make a great introduction, a great presentation. In this session, we are going to talk about in some detail about how to do these things. Next. Say for instance, when you introduce members of your group, I said, what is the language of introduction? You can simply say this is X and Y, and you can say on my left, on my right, before me, we are 6 of us, I am introducing my friends because they thought they were very busy. Only I have some free time, so I am introducing, them. Be self-effacing, You don't have to say I am the captain of the team. It's obvious, it's understood. It has been said, build in the form, okay? And then talk about the strength of each person, This person may not know everything, but there will hardly be a question which he will not do his utmost to answer. Okay, find something good about everybody, but don't exaggerate. Don't say he knows every word in the dictionary. Even if he does, please don't say that, okay, because that's not necessary. What is necessary is how he learnt all the words in that dictionary. What did he do which others haven't? Okay. So be complimentary, but not hyperbolic, not exaggerating. Okay. Focus on individual achievements and group membership, and say how each person complements the group, or talk about the job. Before you introduce members, introduce the group. We are all amateurs, but we make a great chorus. Okay. Every Saturday we meet in a temple, and here is my friend on the left, Morganandan. He is wonderful with ghatam, and here is another person. He is, he can make even gods cry with his veena. Go like that. If he is really that good, If he is not, don't criticize him, but say, well, he is still making brave attempts to make gods cry when he plays Veena. Okay? So with some sense of humor, some wit, you can introduce everyone. How the, what are the priorities of the group, what the group is weak in and what the group is strong in. All of these things can come within limited time in a sentence or two if you have done the right degree of homework. Try to find out where you are good, where you are not so good, and why you are good where you are good, and why you are not so good where you are not so good. Go on. Okay, just to give you a break from the monotony of listening to one person, all the time. Watch this video and see how some memorable introductions are made. Here is an introduction to Bill Gates, easily the best known contemporary in the world today. Bill Gates being introduced by a young lady, a young executive, a young manager in perhaps in the city of Kuwait. Please check. But the point here is, she said all that is relevant, and she said that differently. A great man is great man not only because he has done great work only for his company, but the great work for his company has also created opportunities for many others who are not even remotely connected with that company. Okay? And all of this is possible easily for any one of us to do, provided, number one, we set our minds to, and number two, we give enough time, enough work to speak in this manner, finding out, maybe making one or two drafts, maybe making one or two rehearsals before we speak, so that we gather enough courage, enough confidence, and make a very powerful, brief, effective introduction. Next. Ordinarily, this is how you go, This is the language of introduction or welcoming your audience. Welcome to the event, or the person introducing himself. I am Shirish Chaudhary, and I am currently teaching English here, etc., etc. Thanks for coming. This is how it goes. But you can deviate, you can strike some new patterns. But remember, those new patterns should not become so new that your audience feels baffled. Something which is creative is not entirely unrelated to whatever has gone before. It just changes a parameter or two, slightly different. That's about all. Pardon me? That's about all, not much more. Okay, so you can go in this manner. Look at the language of introductions, all of these. Okay, go on. These are common situations in any managers, any scientists, any group managers' work life, inviting speakers, introducing speakers, inviting questions after you finished, okay, answering questions at a formal meeting, okay. How do you do that? Somebody asks you a very provocative question, as we saw, while preparing for interviews, and you don't say that's a stupid question, you take it in your stride, and without being rude, you tell the person that this question could not be answered and why this question could not be answered. Okay, so there is a language appropriate for group. Go on. Thanks to the internet, you can come across a variety of speakers and introductions to speakers, introductions to subjects. The least you can do to help yourself is to look at some whenever you have free time. You may not listen to the entire speech, but at least a few opening moments, a few opening minutes, and if you look at them critically, you will find that all great speeches, all great occasions of public speaking have some of these common features. Number one, they have done some finding out, they have done some research, and they know what they are going to say, such that is not already very well known you know to people, and that will gather, that will be heard with interest and attention. Then you must have rather simple, easy language, small sentences, everyday words, so that words themselves do not become a challenge. And slow delivery, easy delivery, when you are not excited or tense yourself, will help you make great introductions, great conclusions, and invite questions on presentations that might have been made by you yourself or by invited guests, where you are doing the comparing or where you are presiding. Okay, thank you and good luck.